Good afternoon, y'all. My name is Jeremy Zippel. I am a Jesuit priest and executive editor of films at America Media. And this year, we have tried something new in partnership with the Ignatian Solidarity Network, a film contest, a social justice film contest, centered on the teach-in called Voices from the Margin. We had about 70 entries, including some really amazing films from undergrads all around the country at various universities. You can check out all the finalists, well, 6 of them, at the official website for the contest, filmfest.americamedia.org. But today, right now, we're going to watch the overall first prize winner and crowd favorite award as well, which was a distinguished panel of judges that we put together, and online voting decided that that would be given to a film called Stones by this guy standing right next to me, Nico, Sandi. Dang. You've got fans. That's Creighton? Okay. And he does happen to be a recent graduate of Creighton University, class of 15. He's made a brilliant film about the death penalty. Oh, I forgot to present him with the award, so there you go, Nico. So now please enjoy a great film about the abolition movement of the death penalty in Nebraska, Stones, Nico, Sandi.
The family lived in a little basement room, one room, with unfinished walls and dirt floors. And Robert would see his mother yelling and screaming at the dad because of spending the money, and dad beating his mother again. And finally, after a period of time, the older boys prevailed upon their mother to leave because they were afraid she was going to be killed. Child Protective Services came and took the children away, but Robert was old enough that he could not be taken.
The death penalty has been an issue for Nebraska legislators for many years.
Senator Ernie Chambers, for a number of years, has sponsored an abolitionist bill to try and rid the state of Nebraska from capital punishment as an option.
Finally, this last spring, he was successful in getting it passed.
And went to the governor, and the governor vetoed it. So then it came back to the legislature, and we had to get 30 votes to put the repeal into effect, overriding the veto. So it passed, notwithstanding the opposition of the veto of the governor, and went into law in session.
Got a job in Lincoln, married a wife, they were buying a house. One of the things he didn't realize was that he was not emotionally able to have intimate relationship with somebody. And this was interfering with his relationship with his wife. Finally, one day, his wife served him divorce papers, and that just snapped something inside of him.
After the governor's veto was overridden, the question is, what can you do next? And the next step was to start a citizen petition drive. Those drives usually aren't successful unless you have money for paid petitioners and money for advertising.
Governor Ricketts and I believe his father donated several $100,000 along with other primarily conservative groups to try and get enough signatures to make this a ballot initiative.
And they have turned in a sufficient number of signatures to put the issue on the ballot. So the issue will be on the ballot in November 2016.
And he walked off the job, and he spent the day drinking and drugging, and went to the home of some friends of his, and he had a gun. And they tried to get the gun away from him, and he ended up shooting and killing both of them. He raped one, and then got into his car and was on his way to Chicago, but he was under the influence, and he kept driving the car off the road, and finally he wrecked the car, so he went looking for another car. And he encountered a farm wife and raped her and killed her and stole that car, and came back to Lincoln, where he was picked up and put in jail.
The people who were arguing against the repeal, who argued that we needed to keep the death penalty, talked about their understanding of justice. It was a reciprocity understanding of justice. If someone killed someone in a particularly horrendous way, that justice demanded the ultimate punishment.
The kind of eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth thing. You killed, you must be killed. That's not in keeping with our understanding of universal human dignity, and we believe that justice can be better served by preserving the life even of the most heinous criminal, as long as society can be protected from that person, which our modern prison systems can do.
Victims' families have reported overwhelmingly not feeling a sense of relief, not feeling peace once their family member's killer is executed. So we really don't have any evidence that that retributive aspect is going to bring something like a peacefulness or any sort of equilibrium, either to victims' families or to society in general.
So I think they give the most powerful testimony against the death penalty. We have suffered from a murder, and we don't think killing the murderer is going to do anything for us. Quite the opposite. It's insulting to think that causing other people to suffer is going to make us feel any better.
He spent 20 years on death row. He spent a lot of time trying to understand how come other people who had grown up like he did, he knew there were a lot of people that lived in the poverty and the violence and so on that he had. How come so many of these people made it and he didn't? What was the difference? He would get up like at 3 o'clock every morning and spend hours reading and studying and praying. And he came to be, he was 61 at the time, he came to be just this very dear, kind elderly grandfather sort of person.
Nebraska, however, is ranked dead last by quite a margin in terms of the amount of reparations that they give per victims. They give less than $100, average of less than $100, around 60 some dollars per victim, and the next lowest state is several $100s.
So on the repeal side, there were multiple justice arguments that were important in the debate. One was the justice argument about the fundamental value of human life. A government should not take a human life unless that's absolutely necessary.
Vision of justice that is based on restoration of relationships rather than simply retribution. So the phrase is restorative justice. That would suggest that the person who's committed the crime would have some opportunity and obligation to, as much as possible, make amends for the harm they've caused.
Every year on the anniversary of the day that these killings happened was a day of great sorrow for Robert, and all of his friends would join with him, in praying for the consolation of these families. He was indeed very sorry for what he had done, very sorry for the grief that he had brought upon these families. September of 1997, when I picked up the morning paper and saw on the front page that the Nebraska Supreme Court had set a date for his execution. And by then, we had become friends. And he was executed on December 2nd. Robert prayed and prayed and prayed that his execution would be the last state-ordered killing.